Sitting at a table in Carmenate's club, Gareth, Crest, Amy, Pat and Cassandra took part in a collective explanation that had the flavour of liberation. Gareth waited to talk until the last mojito special had been served. So let's start from the assumption that I have no idea how all this could have happened, he said, while Crest nodded smugly. But these are our facts, in sequence, he added in an almost formal tone. Cassandra glanced at Pat, who resumed sipping his mojito, his mind drifting back to the last psychedelic experience with Cassandra. Around the circles of Pat and Cassandra were strange messages, echoing and feeding back over one another. There was the sense of other minds at work, outside in the beyond, outside our everyday filters, outside the narrow dimensions we all find ourselves locked in. The syllables and mathematical symbols lost their rhythm and fell down. The after effect danced like lonely watercolours. The language and expression of the empty sunflower cinema. Random songs bounced between it all, crashing off one another and creating weird and unplanned remixes. Pat had no idea about what was before or behind them. Everything was hidden. Everything echoed in a mysterious trance of irrational rope, entwined in the chaos of lost context. There was the odd snapshot, the memory of a backdrop, but nothing they could truly grasp. The pools of strange, unknown colours, limitless and somehow stuck in some other time. Letters written on paper, drenched in the revelation and solitude of prison, somehow interacting and creating another world, another afterimage. The erased and broken key change of the blue circles and orange rose rectangles in the fragile pink of time and space. Paintings and sketches move through the limits. Now and again, they would touch a sequence of notes or brush a symbol so it shimmered in the air in an offbeat, looped fashion. Quotes and phrases came out of nowhere, waves of impressions and feelings superimposed over one another. The fusion and landscape of somewhere else, the unknown filter that lives inside us. We are in the 70s, precisely in 1973, resumed Cochrane, and Pat was suddenly brought back to the present. Mr. Francis finds himself faced with a space-time fracture that puts him back together with his double, a certain Alexander Frankenheim, a German director. Things have been going on like this for 50 years. Then the episode repeats itself the day that the director is killed by a madman with a gunshot. Our Mr. Francis also dies, but in reality, his biological death is then attested to 1973. Gareth grabbed his mojito and took a large sip. Carmenate couldn't stop looking at him with admiration, while Amy continued to doubt that all this was really happening. You'll understand that we are faced with a rather unlikely story, sighed Gareth. No, I do not agree, Crest said in the most authoritative tone he was capable of. Cassandra smiled. Finally some light, she thought. These dimensional fractures should not make us imagine apocalyptic scenarios, much less bother us to look for explanations based on the paranormal. Far from it. Orthodox science has been contemplating these cases for decades. There are volumes of theories of this type written by credible and reliable scientists, but I won't bore you by quoting them. The point is that often the reality of things goes faster than its own theorization. You just need to have an open mind and put two and two together. Cassandra raised a glass in celebration of Crest's genius. He smiled. Gareth sighed. Amy and Carmenate shared a toast, while Pat continued to stare at Crest as if he were the Oracle of Delphi. In short, continued Cochrane, we can only file Mr. Francis's death among the unsolved cases, but what we have discovered should lead us to better understand everything else. Like my stupid superpowers, Cassandra smiled. Gareth and Pat darkened instantly, and for different reasons. The first, for not knowing how to reassure the woman he loved. The second, for not knowing how to reassure himself. Amy smiled. I'm absolutely sure that if there is anyone on this planet in this time who can help you understand and manage your gifts, well, this man is my Crest. The scientist felt himself melting like a snowflake in the sun. Amy, finally, Amy, he thought with a smile on his face. He didn't say anything to her, but took her hand and held it tightly in his. We made it, Amy. We made it. Carmenate, who had remained silent the whole time, decided that it was just about time to rearrange the balance of that table. Shall we dance, Cassandra? Gareth should not make me look bad in front of my parents, as usual. She looked at him for a few seconds and held out her hand, appreciating that last-minute rescue. The band was playing El Carretero, and the two threw themselves onto the dance floor, immediately gaining the center. Amy invited Cress to dance, while Pat and Gareth had ordered another round of Mojito Special. Gareth looked the man in the eyes. Now, can you tell me what's been buzzing in your head since we sat down? He asked him gently. Pat sipped his mojito anxiously and stared back at Cochrane. Gareth was a sincere man. He knew that well. A man he could and should trust. There was one detail that I couldn't yet focus on, a detail that I saw during the circus with Cassandra and that I didn't remember clearly. Gareth placed his glass on the table and made sure Pat knew he had his full attention. Well, Pat continued, there were two other people in that theatre, a man and a woman. Can you describe them? Gareth asked without hesitation. Pat took a folded paper out of his pocket and handed it to Cochrane. He opened it and saw a portrait of a couple. At first glance, just two strangers, but there was something familiar, and that small sensation was enough to rekindle all his synapses, numbed by too much rum. And there's one more thing, Pat added. You know the poster that Cassandra and I saw in the theatre? The one she saw was dated 1973, but on the one I saw was dated 2023. Gareth slumped in his chair and burst out laughing, a liberating and sincere laugh that also involved Pat, while the band played their version of Double Trouble by Eric Clapton.